Hey guys, welcome to this latest video in the series. What we're going to be looking at today is essentially some of the basic bits and pieces of theory around creating a bass line and my basic approach to doing so. I'm going to get rid of my previous drum rack from last one. I'm going to keep my 99 chord kit. So at the moment, I've got my chord progression and my drums, and it sounds like this. Okay, that's essentially where I'm sitting at the moment. So next step is to essentially create a bass instrument. To do so, I'm going to go create and insert a MIDI track. So I've got a brand new blank MIDI track in the middle here. From here, I'm going to jump into my instruments and I'm going to do a bit of a search. Now, you can do a search for a few different keywords. I'm going to start off by looking for simply the word bass. I'm going to look under analog, bass, and have a bit of a listen to some of these options. I don't mind that actually. It's nice and straightforward, nice and simple. So I'm going to click and drag muted bass 1 dark onto MIDI track number 3. Now, here is where things are going to get a little bit interesting. So ordinarily, what you could do is essentially just grab some of the notes from the chords that you have used previously and just jumping back to here, you could just grab randomly from here or from the chords, but I'm going to make it in a bit of a simpler fashion, okay, and give you guys a few different options. So to start off with, I'm going to copy my MIDI clip from my electric piano track to my newly created bass track. To do this, I'm going to hold Control, so bottom left of my keyboard, click and drag across. Now if I double click in here, I have my chords all in here. Now I'm going to solo my bass. I'm going to play this and it's going to sound pretty awful. And it's like, that's not bass. You're right, it's not bass. The problem is that we are too high up on the piano roll. So I'm going to click on any one of these notes and then press Control A. So once again, bottom left of the keyboard, you're going to be using that Control button quite a bit. Control A to select all, and I'm going to drag my notes all down. So my very bottom note is B2. So I'm going to drag it down until we get to B, let's say B0. So down here, B0. Now I'm not going to move left or right. You can see that I can move left and right, and that will play around with the length of the track as well. But I'm just going to go down to B0 here. Oops, sorry, B0 is up here. And let go, make sure that everything's in line. Now let's have a listen. Alright, so a lot more bass sounding, okay? Now, the basics of a bass line is essentially playing one note at a time and having a bit of a rhythm that can match up or play with or against, ideally with the drums and match up, and for it to not clash with the chords, which is why we have used our chord clips so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to have a bit of a trim around of some of these note lengths so that only one note is playing at a time. Okay, so I'm going to shorten this one down to here. Have this one go for this long, and I'm just going to do this real rough, real amateurish, not really pay too much attention to what I'm doing, because I'm going to refine it all later. So I'm going to have that all there, and then I'm going to put another B note in to finish. Then similar sort of thing here, going to start on the B note, have that one go for this length of time, then finish on that note, and for this last one here, I'm warning you, doing it this way, it's going to sound rubbish to start off with because it's all about adding, changing, and refining. Okay, I'm going to do a similar sort of thing with this, but no, let's drag it to about this length. Okay, and let's have a listen, because from here we're going to refine. Okay, and we'll listen with the piano in the background as well. Okay, let's have a listen. Okay, so honestly, it's better than I thought it was going to be, but that being said, it's still not good. There's not a lot of energy or anything there, right? So I'll put the drums in as well so you can have a listen to that. I'm going to turn the drums down a little bit though so they're not the focus. You can turn instruments up or down by grabbing the arrow alongside the meters here. Right, so it's like, yeah, it's okay, but nothing real special, nothing to write home about. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so I can see my notes a bit clearer, simply by going to where the note names are, clicking and dragging to the right, lets you zoom in. Okay, so let's see what we got going on here. So the main thing that I reckon it was lacking was essentially some interesting rhythm. So I should explain what I'm doing. I've grabbed this first note here, I've shortened the length of it by half, and press Control D to duplicate it. Now, I didn't really like the bum, 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 bum sort of thing. It seemed a bit kiddish, so I'm going to sit on this note for a little bit longer, and then I'm going to use this note here to be a bit of an up, like a little bit of a step up sort of sound. So simply going to play around with the rhythm, because the length of these clips, like going left to right, dictates the actual sound. So let's listen to what this first bar sounds like now. Ooh, I'm going to have the bass be a bit more focused. I'm going to turn down our other instruments. Right, so a little bit more interesting, maybe a bit too much, a bit too hectic, maybe. Let's simplify it a little bit. Let's solo it. So let's also see if we can add a bit of space in here. Oh, now we're onto something. Da, 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 right? So adding a bit of space, you don't need every instrument playing something all the time either, okay? So having a bit of space in there can really help out. So you saw before when I have all these long notes and stuff. So let's listen to the rest of the bass line compared to that. Right? It's like, nothing really special. But this first bar, now, that's pretty cool. Now, the thing is that I feel when I hear those notes, I kind of want to step down to our root note. Now, remember our second chord is G, right? You forget, you flick back to your piano, scroll up and be like, oh, what's our second chord? Oh, it starts on G, right. I've got a feeling that I want to jump down to G here, and I might even keep a similar sort of rhythmic phrase, but possibly even change it up, have the offbeats. Maybe something like this, I'm not sure. Let's have a bit of a play around, and then have that be on B. So I don't know what this is going to sound like. Let's have a listen. Oh, I quite like that. Sorry if my reactions are a bit too visceral there. I quite like that sort of thing though. Let's have a listen to it with everything else. Ooh, yeah, and now we're finishing on F sharp, but let's have a bit of a play around. So start off with 2 longer notes, bum bum, and then go up to what are our notes? F sharp, C. That's right. Even I need to check every now and then. F sharp, A, C sharp, of course. F sharp, and then A, D, 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 and then C sharp. And we can have a bit of a play around with this as well, because don't forget the this chord goes for a long time as well. So I might have a bit of a play around with our notes here. Okay. Sure, let's just run with this for now. I kind of feel like I want some really fast moving notes in here, like really fast. Dun, 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 dun. Ba, 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 ba. And let's get that happening up there. Sure, let's see what that sounds like. It's a bit hectic, but it'll do. I might try deleting some of these notes. Pop that one there. Have a nice rundown there. Sure, let's try that. Too hectic there. Da, da. Let's settle that a bit more. Let's try this. Okay, so all I'm doing is playing around with the spacing of the notes, left and right. I'm still just using the notes that are from that those chords, okay? Let's have a listen all together. Right, so not bad, not bad. I'm quite happy with that at the moment. So the thing is as well is that we can go into heaps of other theoretical bits and pieces as well. Like if you want to, you can have a play around with the with other notes in the scale, talking about your strong beats, your weak beats. If you're wanting to play around with that in particular, I'll give you a quick lowdown example. So essentially, what you would be exploring would be other passing notes or bits and pieces of, like, essentially other notes from the scale that aren't necessarily in the chord that are being played at that time. But you only want to do those on generally your weaker beats, okay? And your weaker beats are your 2, your 4, or especially your real in-between beats. So your ands. So instead of just on 1, 2, 3, 4, you could have a note that's in between, like this one here. We could pop that on a different note that's not necessarily being used at that time. So I've moved that from a B to a C sharp. Let's have a listen to how that changes it. And let's have this one be a step down note as well. Let's go A, because A isn't part of this chord. And then these ones are all strong beats except for that one, and that one's sort of a step up. Let's say instead of being on A, set that to B. And then this one's on an and. Let's pop that one up to B. All right, so now let's have a bit of a listen to the sort of color that that can bring as well. Right, so that's one way that you can explore that sort of thing as well. Okay, so remembering that we're not being genre specific at the moment, we're not trying to aim for anything in particular. I just wanted to go over some of the basics around building a bass line. Something that you can do as well if you want to make it more dancey is having, like this second bar here, having your notes focused on the offbeats. But we're going to be more specific about that in the next video. So next video, we're going to start exploring trap music. Okay, and we're going to crank out our 808s, get some of those sub booms happening, and essentially we're going to adapt this template, this first rhythm that we have established, like this. Right, this mildly not super well written, this kind of, hate to say it, but lame, this little bit of a lame track, and we're going to transform it into a trap tune. Okay, going to jump into the arranging window, get all that good stuff happening. So please stick around, and I hope you check out the next video. Enjoy.